We are here in the Metropolitan Museum of Art to discuss the use of light through art history. And when we say use of light, we're referring to the ways that artists manipulate, enhance, and create light in order to communicate the message of their artworks. Starting in prehistoric times, we see that light takes on a functional use. In Stonehenge, for example, we see the sun used as part of the calendar system, where the sun lines up with the stone structure on the winter and summer solstice. Likewise, the Intihuatana and Observatory of Machu Picchu also record time by way of the sun. Early on, we also see the use of light to show power and importance. Many large religious structures were constructed with light in mind. For example, the Sumerian White Temple was completely whitewashed, which in direct sunlight would have given it a dazzling look that drew attention to the temple and the god that it honors. Combined with the placement of the temple in the center of the city, the architects cemented spirituality as an important part of Sumerian life. Similarly, the Great Pyramids were also covered in white limestone, giving the pyramids a bright, reflective look. This showed their importance as a burial site for pharaohs, as well as the power and wealth of the pharaohs themselves, even in the afterlife. The tip of the pyramid was also coated in gold, which would have been visible from a great distance in the sunlight. The Coricancha Temple in the city of Cuzco was also a religious space made of reflective material, originally covered in a thin sheet of gold to symbolize the importance of the sun god Inti. One of the most important ways artists use light is by creating a connection between light and the divine. In fact, all throughout art history, light has often been connected with the spiritual because of its beauty and immateriality. In the Pantheon, for example, the only source of light is the central oculus. As the sun moves in the sky, it projects a circle of light into the building, somewhat like a sundial. This is intentional in representing the movement of the heavens, connecting the earthly with the divine. But Christian art is probably where we see the greatest connection between light and the divine. Light is a symbol of Christ, and early Christian churches often employed clerestory windows to stream more light into their spaces. Take, for example, Santa Sabina. The walls of Santa Sabina were originally covered with mosaics, and light streaming in from the clerestory windows would reflect against these mosaics, creating a shimmery, otherworldly effect. Byzantine churches such as San Vitale and the Hagia Sophia also utilize light in a similar way. In Byzantine belief, light is connected with perfection as well as divinity. In both San Vitale and the Hagia Sophia, the reflection of light against mosaics serves to create a heavenly space. But in Christian art, there is no better example of light than in stained glass windows. Stained glass windows in Chartres Cathedral, for example, refracted light in all different ways, creating the illusion of being inside a jewel. Churchgoers experience the feeling of being completely surrounded by light. In fact, Chartres Cathedral was specifically designed to allow more light to stream in through windows, with the use of flying buttresses allowing walls to be thinner and taller than ever before. Spiritual experiences continue to be enhanced through the use of light into Baroque art. For example, in Il Gesù, where the fresco of the Ascension to Heaven shows golden light as representation of heaven, and all the elect are painted with much lighter colors than the damned, who are shown in shadows. In San Quattro al Fontan, a series of windows are hidden at the top of the dome, surrounding a golden medallion with the dove that represents the Holy Spirit and the Trinitarian order. These hidden windows give the appearance of the golden medallion and dove casting light down into the church below. In the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, Bernini also uses a hidden window to stream light over his statue of Teresa and the angel. This emphasizes the spiritual experience that Teresa is undergoing, as well as elevates the drama of the piece. And that brings us to another common use of light, starting in Greek art, but continuing all the way to the 21st century, which is using light to enhance drama and to tell a story. In Hellenistic Greece, after the death of Alexander the Great, there is a shift in Greek art to include more drama. In the sculptural frieze of the Great Altar of Zeus, we see extremely high-relief sculpture that creates intense drama through the deep shadows that contrast with the lightness of the marble figures. And in the Ludovisi battle sarcophagus from Rome, we see even higher relief sculptures, where the use of light and shadow serve to create movement within the piece. Furthermore, the contrast between the Romans and the barbarians is shown by carving the enemy in deeper relief to create more shadow on their figures. This contrasts with the Romans, who are carved smoother to highlight their seriousness and nobility. And of course, when we talk about light and drama, we have to talk about Baroque art, and Caravaggio specifically, who took chiaroscuro a step further to really create a realistic scene. In The Calling of St. Matthew, the light source is an active player in the scene. It acts as an extension of Christ and his divinity, as well as leads the viewer's eye directly toward Matthew. In Vermeer's Woman Holding a Balance, light also plays a role in telling the story of the painting. The woman is seen weighing a balance, and the light helps to portray the illusion that the balance is in motion. It also creates a contrast between the illuminated front side of the woman and the darkened back side, which play into the judgment of the saved and damned in the painting behind her. And the Baroque idea of drama and contrast reappears in the Enlightenment paintings of Joseph Wright, who uses light to represent not religion but reason. Seen in The Philosopher giving a lecture on the orrery, Wright creates a heavy contrast between the light emanating from the orrery, a scientific advancement, and the rest of the painting. This suggests that scientific advancement brings light to the world. In Electronic Superhighway, we see the first use of artificial light in an installation. Artificial light has become important in contemporary art to help artists tell their stories in new ways. Electronic Superhighway uses neon tube lighting to invoke images of interstate highways. Coupled with the TVs, Pike suggests that what connects us now is digital media. And when we talk about the use of light, we can't forget about the Impressionists, the group of artists whose goal was to accurately depict light in all of its different forms. But this style of painting that tries to work out the subtleties of light starts way before the 19th century. We can see in Las Meninas, for example, Velázquez's use of loose brushstrokes that imitate how light acts, like using dots of white to represent where light hits on the high points. And Turner furthers the use of feathery brushstrokes in Slave Ship, trying to capture a single moment of a story. And finally, we make our way to the Impressionists. And the example from the 250 is Monet's Saint-Lazare Station, where it's all about the use of light and how light interacts with all the subjects of the painting. The subjects are by no means realistic, but the quality of light is. And the light also shows the industrialization of France positively, using a soft color palette and loose brushstrokes to show locomotives as beautiful. The Impressionists get a full category to themselves because, hey, they're pretty dedicated.